Nice to see you again so soon, Bunty. It's been a while. Of course, it's always been a while when you come to think of it. Of course, your type tries not to. Don't you? Time is scary, and time is undeniable, and time is more present in your realm of being than you can even conceive in my relative sphere. Anyhow, where are my manners? I know you. I've known every piece of you across every conceivable orbital web of time. But you have yet to know me. Know me in any way that matters. I appear in sort of dots across your space and time, but we've never really had a full conversation. Not like this. Not like now. I know this is a very abrasive form of meeting, but I think if you knew me like I know you, you'd know there was really no other way for me to tell you all this. You know me. My name is You Know Me. I gave it to myself. Right. There's a lot of explaining to be done. Not too much, mind you, but some. I can grant you that if nothing else in this life. Some explanation. I've heard hundreds of names for it. Time Mage, Chronospotter, Timeline Leader, etc., etc., etc. But I generally think of it as being a Watcher of the Watch. You get it? Basically, I am given the job of watching over the timeline of hundreds of people every single day to make sure they don't mess up the delicate balance of time too much, so to speak. There's a whole other department dedicated to events and all that, but my job is to specifically influence certain individuals' timelines to keep the well-oiled machine that is the space-time continuum purring like a kitten. But let me assure you, it's all very complicated. I'm sure you're familiar with the idea of time working as a river instead of a linear plane. The general idea being that every time you make a decision, there's a fork in the timeline where it deviates, even if only in regards to that one insular choice. The idea is only really ever considered in the idea of drastic decisions by, your types. Those inside the river. How would the river fork if you never got the job that you wanted? How would the river fork if you survived an accident that would have killed you? If the love of your life was not really the love of your life? Drastic, life-altering decisions like that. But the fact of the matter is that choice is divine in many facets, but also incredibly mundane. In the river of your life, there's a fork in the river based on whether or not you hit the snooze button this morning. A fork based on whether or not you hit it again. A fork if you got dressed or ate breakfast first. A fork if you wore the red shirt or the blue shirt. A fork if you ate Cheerios for breakfast. A fork if you ate Cocoa Puffs for breakfast. A fork for Pop-Tarts. A fork for eggs. A fork for if you wore the yellow shirt. A fork for if you spilled anything on your yellow shirt. A fork for if you had to change more than once. A fork for if you didn't have to change at all. A fork, a forking lot of forks. And that's without even considering anything like showering. Even if these paths only diverge for a brief minute in the valley of progression of time, having the job that I do in a world like yours where choice and convenience are valued above all other things. These are all aspects that I have to keep track of in order to gauge your path in the grand scheme of time. Which is why I say with such utmost certainty that the best choice that you can make for your future is for you to marry me. I understand that this might sound crazy out of context, and your suspicion allows you to be far more cunning than many others' timelines I follow. But in the time I have spent watching you and all that you are, such a long, long, long time, I feel as if we are kindred spirits. And I trust that in all your kindness and all your divinity, that you would not let me suffer in the ways I am where you would be forced to if you continued down this path. Of course, although these are only figments of possibilities based on decisions that have already been made, don't you want that extra protection? That extra trust? Don't you trust me? Isn't trusting me at all a choice you're forced to make? One that could send you spiraling down an entirely different road than you may have first been originally walking upon? Of course, you can't wait too long to make your decision. After all, you can make the wrong choice just by making no choice at all. You can die just from standing still. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen to people. Good people. My people. People who counted on me to make sure they got to live their warm, happy, successful lives. They might have never reached Hollywood Boulevard or rose to the top of the peaks of Silicon Valley, but they had the honest to goodness chance to be genuinely good and happy people. But they refused. Despair was the only outlook that they could reason with when encountering somebody like me, and it's... But you are different. You are cataclysmic as a person. You are capable of so much. You are... Think about it like this. Forgive me, I'm not used to having to explain all this wibbly-wobbly stuff all the time, let alone to somebody who actually looks interested, so this is a big day for me, but think about it like this. In human lives, there are generally a few linchpin experiences, or generally life-altering events that can alter the timeline en masse. For instance, Chernobyl is considered a linchpin experience, as it altered the lives of those who lived there, altered the lives of those who would have potentially lived there in the present, and has impacted the conversation around nuclear power and radiation. That's a linchpin experience. You are a linchpin experience waiting to happen, but you're unique. And you're unique for one simple reason. You have the potential to cause a good linchpin experience that could alter the way humanity lives for the rest of time, or a bad linchpin experience that could end the world as you understand it now. An individual person being capable of being a linchpin is like 1 in a million, but being capable of both a negative and a positive linchpin experience based around 2 different events are the same chances of an average individual are the same chances an average individual has of being struck by lightning on the same day they win the lottery and become a billionaire. I think I've only heard of such a thing being possible from a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, but I never thought I'd see it happen. And even the idea that I have such an individual under my observation, under my charge is... Sorry. Getting distracted, overstepping my bounds, not cool. The point is, I might be overreaching my bounds here in general. I recognize that. I'm a watcher of the watch, not meant to experience time or even your time the way you normally would, but I refuse to see another one of these rivers I refuse to see another one of those rivers dry up in the drought. Not when I could do something about it. Not when one of these rivers can flow so rich and sweet you could mistake it for cherry wine. I am subverting every authority I know of to do this, to even tell you this much about time and space and the linchpin experience. And I can only hope you make the right choice. Marry me. Marry me, and let's see a beautiful future, a beautiful timeline, a beautiful world that could allow for so many other sweet, strong rivers for all of humanity, all your own. I can promise you heaven on earth, in both figurative and literal terms. You are at the fork in the river. All you have to do is make a choice. But if you're as smart and as kind and as brave as that one path whispers you are, I know you'll make the right choice, Bunty.